If you follow the Toronto Maple Leafs, you know the organization carries a certain amount of institutional baggage. Today, we're taking a look at a fascinating rumor, an opportunity for the Leafs to finally correct one of their most quietly damaging errors from the recent past.
Yeah, and this isn't just another trade rumor. This is really a deep dive into team building, into organizational regret, and, the high cost of impatience. Our mission today is to unpack why getting Mason Marchment back isn't just about adding a player.
It's about something bigger.
Exactly. It's about strategically fixing a mistake that has, frankly, haunted their roster construction ever since it was made. It would be a huge admission of error, but one corrected by action.
Okay, so let's set the stage here. The core news, and this comes from reporting at Sportsnet, specifically from Elliot Friedman, is pretty simple. Marchment, a player the Leafs developed and then basically gave away, is now available.
And he might just be the perfect missing piece for this current team.
Right. And the mistake we're talking about, the one at the heart of all this, goes back to March 2020. That's the moment, according to the sources, when a quiet little trade was made that just, it snowballed into massive organizational regret.
And quiet is the key word. It happened completely under the radar. It wasn't some blockbuster deal that everyone was debating. It was just a footnote at the trade deadline.
Trading a prospect for what? A small roster plug?
That's all it was perceived as. But when you look at the fallout now, with hindsight, that tiny footnote was one of the biggest strategic blunders of that whole era.
To really get why it was such a mistake, you have to go back to Marchment's roots with the team.
He was never, supposed to be a star. He was a project.
A total project. He signed his entry-level deal back in March of 2018, and he spent the next couple of seasons really just grinding it out with the Marlies in the AHL.
Just doing the heavy lifting, learning how to be a pro. Yeah, learning how to use his size, figuring out that power forward game. He was a slow burn, Not a high draft pick with obvious potential from day one. He was a classic late bloomer.
And he even gave the Leafs a little preview, right? He had a few games with the big club.
A very tantalizing preview. 4 games in that 2019-20 season. He was right there. Right on the edge of breaking through and realizing that potential.
And that's when the organization lost its patience.
Right at that moment.
In March 2020, he gets shipped off to the Florida Panthers. And the return, a forward named Dennis Malgin. At the time, maybe you could squint and justify it, but the outcome for Toronto was catastrophic.
Absolutely catastrophic. The mindset seemed to be about plugging this tiny, insignificant roster hole instead of keeping a guy with a really high ceiling. And what did Malgin even do?
He played, 14 games?
14 completely forgettable games before they waived him. He made zero impact. Today, his NHL career is pretty much over. He's playing in Switzerland.
The sources are really blunt about it. They say that trade yielded absolutely zero for the Maple Leafs. They gave away a player who was about to become exactly what they needed.
For a guy who gave them less than a month of mediocre depth, it really is, as the sources put it, organizational malpractice. A giveaway for nothing, just rooted in short-sightedness.
And that lack of patience is what's so painful when you see what happened next.
Oh yeah, the irony is it's incredible.
This is where the story just completely pivots. Mason Marchment's post-Toronto explosion, it wasn't a gradual thing, it was immediate and it was massive.
The revelation came in that 2021-22 season with Florida. He wasn't just good, he was dominant. Marchment just exploded for 47 points in 54 games.
54 games. Think about that pace.
It's 0.87 points per game. That's top 6 forward production over most of a season. If you're the GM who traded him away, that stat line alone has to keep you up at night.
And it wasn't a flash in the pan either. He proved it was real. He goes to the Dallas Stars, keeps it up. In 2022-23, he puts up 18 goals, 53 points. He had become the exact kind of big, physical, scoring forward that every contender is desperate for.
And today, he's with Seattle, still putting up respectable numbers, 13 points in 27 games right now. But it's not even just the points. It's the type of player he became.
A true power forward.
The kind of relentless guy who hits, who wins board battles, who can finish. And he was grown right here in their own system and then shipped out right before the harvest.
So, okay, that brings us to now. Why is he the critical solution for Toronto at this moment? It's not like the Leafs can't score. They have Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares. They're loaded with skill.
And that's precisely the point. All that offensive firepower can mask a really crucial structural flaw. And that flaw is the lack of a consistent physical presence in the middle of the lineup, specifically on that second line.
Right. If you look at their physical guys, they're all slotted in elsewhere. Matthew Nyes is on the top line with Matthews.
And he's developing great there. You don't want to move him.
Then you have Dakota Joshua, a grinder on the third line, and Ryan Reeves on the fourth, playing limited minutes.
So you isolate that second unit with John Tavares and William Nylander. It's pure finesse, world-class talent, no question. But they can get pushed around when the games get tight.
They need someone to do the dirty work.
Exactly. Someone to retrieve pucks, to screen the goalie, to absorb the punishment, and just create chaos. That's what frees up Tavares and Nylander to do what they do best.
And Marchment is, he's physically built for that job.
Yeah.
6'4", 209 pounds.
Yeah.
But it's more than the size, it's the mentality.
It's the motor.
Yeah.
He plays that heavy style that is just perfectly suited for the playoffs when the ice shrinks and skill alone isn't enough.
He creates space, that's the key. He lives in those dirty areas in front of the net, and that changes everything for a guy like Nylander.
It's priceless. Suddenly you have a guy occupying two defensemen, and the whole dynamic of the line shifts.
Okay, but let me just push back on that a little bit. Marchment's big numbers came when he was playing with really high-end line mates in Florida and Dallas. Is there a risk that Toronto is just chasing the stats? You know, overvaluing him based on a couple of hot years?
That's a fair question, but I think what the sources emphasize is his motor and his willingness to engage. That's consistent. That's what he brings every single night. Regardless of who he's playing with, he brings the battle.
So you're not as worried about the point production, it's more about the role he fills.
It's about the identity he gives that second line. You'd have Tavares, the smart playmaker, Nylander, the dynamic scorer, and Marchment, the relentless power forward doing the heavy lifting. That's a perfectly constructed unit.
It sounds like a cohesive unit with complementary skill sets. You're right. The current line can get pushed to the perimeter. Marchment drags them into the fight.
It makes them a balanced unit built not just for the regular season, but for playoff success.
All right, so let's get to the brass tacks. This is all a great idea, but is a trade actually practical? The timing here seems pretty important.
The timing is perfect. And this is critical. Marchment is not a rental. He's not a pending free agent that's going to cost a fortune at the deadline.
He has turn left.
He has this year plus one more year on his current deal. And the cap hit is an incredibly manageable $3 million.
That's huge for a team like Toronto that's always right up against the cap. $3 million fits, no complicated salary retention, no major gymnastics. It's straightforward.
Now let's look at it from Seattle's perspective. The Kraken are kind of stuck in the middle, right? They're not contenders, but they're not a bottom feeder either.
Uncomfortable middle ground.
Right. So for them, trading a 29-year-old with 1 year left on his deal makes sense. You convert a depreciating asset into future value. You get picks, you get prospects. It aligns with their timeline.
So this is more of a targeted surgical acquisition, not some blockbuster deal. What would a realistic package even look like?
Well, the reporting suggests a manageable price. The package would probably center around a prospect like Topi Niemela.
Okay, let's look at Niemela. The analysis says he's clearly not working out in the Toronto system. Why him specifically?
Well, he's a talented defenseman, but his development has stalled a bit. And more importantly,